morning. Welcome to the 420 meeting of the Knoxville Historic Zoning Commission. This meeting is broadcast on several TV stations, so please remember to speak clearly and directly into the microphone. Dory, would you like to do a roll call for us, please?
Yes. Good morning. For the record, the Knox County Historic Zoning Commission will not convene. They have no business. For the Knoxville Historic Zoning Commission, Commissioner Blackburn?
Here.
Commissioner Eason?
Here.
Commissioner Bradley is excused. Commissioner Fox?
Here.
Commissioner Hearns?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Commissioner Randazzo?
Here.
Commissioner Tillman?
Here.
That's 7 present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have swearing in of speakers. If you plan on speaking today, if you would, please stand and answer with "I do" to the following affirmation. I solemnly affirm that the testimony I'm about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. We ask that all speakers please limit their presentation to 5 minutes, and we also ask that you give your name and address before speaking. If you would, please sign in at the desk by legibly printing your name and address. The appeals process is that any appeal of any Historic Zoning Commission decision may be made to Chancery Court within 60 days of the date of this meeting. At this time, we'll have the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Lindsay, I'll give it to you for staff reports.
All right, there were 3 Level 1 COAs issued since the April meeting. At 920 Eleanor Street in Forthingill, the applicant did a roof replacement in kind. They also removed the asphalt paper cladding on the side gables and the front dormer and installed wood shingle cladding on the dormer and a wood lap siding on the side gable fields. At 1128 Gratz Street, the applicant removed and replaced an asphalt shingle roof. And then at the Knoxville High School Individual H landmark, this was work that occurred on a significantly recessed area. They converted a partially enclosed loading dock into further interior space, so they basically moved an interior wall forward to be flush with the existing wall, featuring the lap siding that matched the previous wall. These were all non-historic elements, and they removed one non-historic door and installed a new storefront window. This was on the northwest corner of the building.
Thank you. All right, we'll go into our certificates of appropriateness. Our first case is in Old North Knox. It's 121 Leonard Place. It's case number 4C23-HZ.
Okay, so this is a new house fronting Leonard Place. It's adjacent to another new construction project that the commission has reviewed in the last year. This house measures 30 feet wide by 55 feet 4 inches long. It is proposed to be set 29 feet from the front property line. There is an 8 feet deep front porch that's set 21 feet from the front property line. In the elevation drawings, you'll see it has a 6/12 pitch with a front gable roof, clad in asphalt shingles, an exterior of fiber cement lap siding, and a 24-inch tall foundation that's clad in brick veneer. The roofline does have exposed rafter tails and an eave overhang that's 1 foot 4 inches. The parking is located on the rear of the house, accessed from the alley. You can see the facade in the top right of your screen here. It has a partial width front gable porch on the left half of the elevation with a 6/12 pitch roof. There are 4 unevenly spaced 10 by 10 square posts, a three-bay facade that's centrally located door flanked by 2 windows. The windows are slightly off-center on the facade located towards the left side of that elevation. You can see several bays of windows on both left and right side elevations and an exterior chimney that's about as tall as the roof peak and proposed to be clad in siding. So some of the staff findings: the house is proposed to be set 29 feet from the front property line. The average front setback of the block is 18 feet. The adjacent new construction at 123 Leonard Place was revised to be 20 feet from the front property line at the main massing, so the house should be moved towards the front property line to align with the block. Locating parking at the rear that meets the design guidelines. It avoids a new curb cut or front yard parking. The final site plan will need to meet city engineering standards. This is a craftsman-style house, which is appropriate for the context. The interpretation is very simple in design and detailing. The guidelines tend to recommend breaking up box-like forms into smaller massings with bays, porches, and roof shapes. The house design does incorporate a front porch, but there's not any additional variation in massings or roof shapes. The guidelines also recommend a mix of wall areas with window and door elements similar to the context. The window and doors on the facade are somewhat asymmetrically arranged. The facade has a lot more wall area than windows than comparable craftsman houses on the block, and I'd referenced 122 Leonard Place, which I can pull up. The roof doesn't meet the design guidelines for pitch. Some craftsman houses do have roofs less steep than a 12/12, but at a 6/12 it is quite low. A revised design should increase the roof pitch and incorporate additional craftsman-style roof details. The materials for new buildings are recommended to be consistent with the street. Fiber cement lap siding has been approved in this overlay if it's smooth finished and has an exposure comparable with lap siding on the street. Corner boards should also be provided. The chimney should be clad in brick veneer to match the foundation instead of siding. And then the design guidelines focus on the front porch and the entry to have a strong sense of entry. The front door is centered on the facade, but it's off-center on the porch, and those simple square porch columns are irregularly arranged, so the facade should be revised to incorporate additional detail. The front porch design should also incorporate additional detail, and then I referenced that house at 122 Leonard Place, which could be an example. It has larger windows and a centered door with side lights and some additional porch details. The window materials aren't included in the application, so those specifications should be submitted for approval. And the windows should incorporate trim and sills detail compatible with historic windows in profile and depth. So staff's recommending postponement of 4C23HC to address the following: revisions to facade arrangement and detail, revisions to the roof pitch, revisions to the front porch detail, submission of window specs and a window trim, and submission of a front door specs. Overall, the drawing should incorporate a little bit more detail, complexity, and specifics regarding materials.
Thank you, Lindsay. See the applicants here.
Yes. Hi, Quinn Epperly, 9812 Westland Drive. I spoke with Lindsay, and everything that is on here we're working to have redrawn. So we'll increase the roof pitch, change the front facade, and our goal is to make it much more similar to the 122 Leonard that was noted. The window in the back, we plan on putting a 3030 in the laundry room that will be similar to the window on the left elevation that's in the kitchen. We'll do brick veneer on the chimney rather than the siding. Triangled brackets and attic vents on the front, and also, like I said, we'll change the front facade to be more similar to the 122 Leonard. We'll move the house towards the front setback. I think that was all the staff findings. My main question would be in terms of the roof pitch. It was noted that there's the 12/12 is suggested, but that there's other craftsmen with lower roof pitch than 12/12. So I wanted to see kind of what would suffice as we definitely will increase it, and so I didn't want to increase it to an amount that wasn't enough. So I kind of wanted to just ask the board to see what would be acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bowen, would you like to speak?
Sean Boland, 115 East Scott Avenue, representing Old North Knoxville. We are perfectly fine and welcome modifications and changes before this application comes back, and we are aligned with Lindsay's recommendations and the applicant's openness to modify them.
All right, thank you. Board, any questions, comments?
I have a question, Sean, maybe for you, about the placement of the chimney on this style of home. Did the neighborhood have any feelings about that?
There were so many aspects to this application that we didn't think fit necessarily. I would have to drive through and look, but to your point, typically chimneys for craftsmen were on the interior. I don't know if that's the if there are exceptions to the rule or common exceptions. So I'd have to drive by and look, but very good question. Thank you.
I just offer I think there are some exterior chimneys. I live in a craftsman house that has an exterior brick chimney, so.
122 has an exterior chimney, it looks like.
I believe the biggest concern we had was the street side view, the front porch, the placement of the windows and the columns all seemed a little bit off. So that would be our primary concern.
I know there was a list of items. Was putting in a gable vent for that front-facing gable among that? Is that on the to-do list? Okay.
Yes, yeah. It was like the attic vents and then triangle brackets on the front gable. Yeah.
Lindsay, I have a question. You guys recommended the 12 by 12 roof pitch, and he said there was some lower, and you guys recognized that, but were there any like 6 by 12?
Yes. So the 12 by 12 is from the design guidelines. It has that sort of very specific measurement. But then I would just recognize that some craftsman style houses do have a slightly lower pitch. I don't know the specific pitch of this example we're looking at on the screen right now. I think it's a little steeper than a 6/12, but it is approximately there.
I have a question for you. If you didn't do a 12 by 12, what are you recommending?
I was gonna try to move it to like an 8 by 12. That would definitely increase it, but like the 12 by 12 on a Craftsman would be very,
Pointy.
very steep to not have like a side, gable. So with like the two front gables, it would be extremely tall. So I was gonna ask for 8 by 12, but was just gonna present it and see what you all thought.
I think 8 by 12 would be appropriate.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
So it sounds like from the recommendations that you agree with Lindsay's recommendation. I think the only thing I heard you say was about the pitch roof, that you would like to do the 8 by 12 instead of 12 by 12, of which Commissioner Eason recommends that should be okay.
Okay.
Was there any other differences from the recommendations that you guys can? Okay.
Yeah, I think everything else we were completely fine with and understand, and are working on having them redrawn right now. And I know that it was recommended for postponement, which we completely understand. And so it was mainly I just wanted to come in front today and make sure there wasn't any other things that I was missing before we redraw the house and represent next month.
Okay. So with that said, I can make a motion.
Sure.
Make a motion that we approve staff recommendation with the understanding that the roof pitch would be 8 by 12 instead of 12 by 12.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
That is for a postponement.
Postpone, yes, sorry. That we postpone based on staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion. It's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Epperly.
Thank you all.
Appreciate your patience and your collaboration.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Our next application is also in Old North Knox. It's at 505 East Scott Avenue. It's case file 4D23-HZ. Lindsay?
So this is the proposed replacement of 15 windows on the 2005 rear addition. These existing windows are double-hung 1/1 wood windows, and the proposed replacement windows are 1/1 double-hung Ultrex. So that's a fiberglass composite product that's manufactured by Marvin. The provided specs note that the muntins and rails are 1 5/8 of an inch. Well, it says the frame is 1 5/8 of an inch, which is comparable to the current window. Overall, the scope of work here will occur on a non-historic flat roof addition that's built in 2005. The windows to be replaced are double-hung 1/1 wood windows. After 18 years, the wood windows have deteriorated since its installation due to the quality of the non-historic wood materials and a high degree of sun exposure on the rear addition. So you can see the addition here. It's a corner lot. Old North's guidelines do note that if replacement windows are necessary, they should be the same overall size with the same pane division, material, muntin, depth, width, and profile. The applicant here is not proposing to replace original windows on the house. Alternative materials have been considered by the HCC in this neighborhood on non-historic additions or new construction. Mostly that's aluminum clad wood. This particular fiberglass product hasn't been evaluated. However, fiberglass does allow the muntins and meeting rails to be thinner in profile than vinyl or other composite products, which, the vinyl ones require more surface area to support the glass panes. The contractor's letter does have the frame width at 1 5/8 of an inch. That's the same frame width as the current wood double hung window. Just to confirm that this replacement meets the guidelines other than material, the staff recommendation would be that the applicant provide measurements, or the contractor provide measurements of the stiles, the top and bottom rails. So just this element and these elements of the window to compare with the wood product. So staff's recommending approval of 4D23HC, subject to the condition that the applicant provide specs for those window replacements to staff for approval.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good morning. Would you like to state your name and address, please?
Good morning. I'm Megan Martin. I live at 505 East Scott Avenue.
Yeah, Jonathan Martin, 505 East Scott Avenue.
Good. Thank you for being here. Do you have anything to add to what Lindsay's?
I think she did a perfect job of summarizing our application.
Okay, good. Mr. Bowen, would you like to speak?
Sean Boland, 115 East Scott Avenue, representing Old North Knoxville. We agree with staff recommendation, especially the surface to glass, or the frame of the window. That's something I would not have even caught, but that's a very good catch, so we appreciate that from staff. So we are in alignment. I do want to add that Old North Knoxville will always want to try to protect older windows and materials. However, this application sparked a conversation within our board to start to consider alternative materials for windows, porches, and siding. The board voted, well, we didn't vote. The board gave unanimous approval for alternative materials for those. We're going to approach the neighborhood on Monday. So since we've denied these historically in the past, I just want to give you a heads up that we might start allowing these materials in the future, simply due to the current environment, lack of sufficient replacement materials, etc. At this point in time, we don't look at changing our guidelines yet. We want to see where everything shakes out as far as material, weather, etc. But we are entertaining the idea of allowing alternative materials.
Thank you, Sean. Board, any questions or discussion?
I wanted to clarify with Lindsay something that's very, I think, obvious from the application, but that this 2005 rear addition is a pre-existing non-conforming addition.
2005, the historic overlay was in place when
Okay.
the addition was built. So I don't have the file number, and I haven't looked at the record of it, but it did go through the Historic Zoning Commission.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion.
Yes. Well, let me ask one thing. Would this be an approval that could happen on the staff level?
Yes, absolutely. Condition 1 says submit that to staff for approval.
Okay.
I move that we approve based on staff recommendation.
Thank you.
A second.
Right, we have a motion that's been made, properly seconded. With no further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. It's a beautiful house.
Thank you.
I do have one question. I have another appointment. Does this conclude Old North business?
Yes, sir?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, free to go. All right. We're going to go to 4th and Gill now. First case there is at 1009 Gratz Street. It's case file 4E23HZ. Lindsay?
Okay. So this one is also relatively simple. This is the proposed removal of 2 interior brick chimneys. These are brick masonry chimneys on the side roof slopes. They're evenly spaced on the side roof slopes. One chimney is missing several courses of brick, and one is supported by some aluminum framing that you can see and around aluminum flue. The scope of work also includes the replacement of the roof cladding with new dimensional shingle cladding, installation of new ridge vents, and a drip edge along the roof eaves. So you can see some existing condition photographs of the chimneys, both inside and exterior here on your screen. In general, the 2 interior chimneys are original to the house, but they are significantly deteriorated due to neglect and minor alterations. You can see patches of Portland cement mortar and the aluminum sort of trim around there in the images. Fourth and Guild design guidelines do note that chimneys should not be removed or altered if they are original and should match the original design if they must be replaced or have been removed. The characteristic of this house is pretty simple style. They are modest in design, they don't have additional detailing, and they are not significantly tall or prominent. They don't extend past that primary roof hip. The associated roof repair work would otherwise be approved as a level 1. So staff's recommending approval of the roof replacement and repair work and recommending repair to or reconstruction of the original chimneys with a design and size to match the original.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Spencer Huff. I'm the architect for the owner of 1009 Gratz Street. So I appreciate that we're able to, get a new roof on there. But for the chimneys, right now they're posing kind of a big problem for the house in terms of water coming into the house. They're still deteriorating, and during strong windstorms, bricks are coming loose and falling either into the chimney or off. And so we're trying to figure out a way for some reasonable accommodation, because the restoration of the chimneys is going to cost around $9,000 to $10,000, and that is quite out of the owner's budget at the moment, who only makes about $30,000 a year. On top of the roof replacement, which is another $10,000. This whole project will cost about 63% of her income. We are more than happy to restore and rehab the roof, but at a later date and time. So I'm asking if there's a way for us to at least demo the roof for now, and then in a year or so come back and build the chimneys back up. When it is safe to do so, and when the owner has proper funding to do it correctly. We love historic districts, and we're not trying to change the everything. But another thing that we've noticed is there's around 40 other similar style houses in the neighborhood that used to have chimneys and no longer do, including her next door neighbor's house, which is almost a mirror copy. So we're wondering why they were able to have their chimneys removed at some point and 1009 Gratz was not.
To clarify, are you saying that you want to remove the chimney, or you just want to delay the repair and reconstruction of the chimney?
Ideally, just remove it entirely because they're inoperable. They haven't been used for decades. But if that is not an option, another solution would be to either bring it down to the roof line and cover it for now until the owner can secure proper funding, or somehow shore it up, get a metal cap on there or something, just for the safety of the tenant and the owner.
Okay, thank you. Is the neighborhood rep here?
Don't believe Aaron is on Zoom. And I received preliminary comments from the neighborhood rep, Aaron Streeter, in support of the staff recommendation. I don't have formal elements in writing. He's not.
Board, open to discussion? Would you like to speak?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
My name's Cassandra Huff. I live at 1009 Gratz Street. My brother is awesome to be my architect for this. We have had some chimney people and roofers come look out at these chimneys and the roof. All of the roofers' recommendations were to knock it down because it is in such bad shape. Out of all of the chimney companies we've had to look at, all but one have also said they will not touch it because of the shape that it is in. They will only knock it down, partially because of the interior part also not being neglected over time. And then also if we delay the rebuilding of it, the roofing and the flashing, the roofers have noted that there will still be leaking into the crawl space underneath, causing potential mold and damage to that area.
Thank you. All right, board, questions?
I also personally find that chimneys of this size and scale to home aren't particularly important to the characteristics of the home, but we are tasked with enforcing the guidelines, and unless we have, for me at least, approval from the neighborhood that they're specifically in support of removing the chimneys, I don't think I can vote to remove them. As far as a reconstruction, I wanted to ask how much needs to be reconstructed. Are we talking 6 bricks that need to be added? Or are we talking more from the one that doesn't have a cap?
For both chimneys, they need to be torn down at least to the roof line. As you can see in the pictures there and with the Fourth and Gill guidelines, mixing and matching different mortars is against their code, and throughout the entire exposed chimney, there's gaps in the mortar, and the whole thing will need to be at least taken down to the roof line and then built back up.
And you would build it back up with a cement mortar continuously, or?
Just an in-kind. Right now, I don't know exactly what kind of mortar they have, but, a similar style mortar.
Most mortars, context-wise, of this age that are 100 years old are kind of entering their end-of-life use. They still have their compressive strength, which is why the photos from the attic, it looks nice and straight, which is what I look for in a fireplace, see if it's in good condition. But at the top, it's losing its stickiness, and so those top bricks are falling off. If you're to try to demo this and you pull the bricks off, you'll notice that they get less and less sticky as you go down, because the compressive weight of all these bricks is what's holding it in alignment. So really, it's the top course of bricks that appear to be in the most dire strait, and there are in-kind mortars available. If you wanted to use a lime-based mortar to try to repoint this existing brick, it looks salvageable to me, as opposed to taking it all the way down, which would be much more expensive, and relaying.
I will say that the one roofing or the one chimney company that has said that they would touch them did say for the flashing, because of the way that the leaking is happening, the mortar and the bricks there are also deteriorating, so that's why they would have to bring it down to the roof level, because to be able to put proper flashing on, they would need to rebuild the bricks in that area too.
Yeah, it looks like the Cricket is undersized for the one without the chimney cap, in my opinion. It seems very, very small. I assume the roofer would want to bring that up more and flash up against the bricks, which I think would solve your problems. I would recommend talking to a company that's specifically knowledgeable and experienced in historic masonry preservation, like Seaber Restoration or Wasco, rather than a chimney company.
Yeah, and so that is part of the reason why we're here, is just talking to a specific historical designated, chimney repair company is going to be significantly more money than I think it was First Tennessee or Tennessee Chimney First, who quoted $9,000, and so that's just more money than the owner, my sister, currently has to spend on this, and so the longer we wait, the more damage that will be done. So we're just trying to find a workaround or some sort of accommodation for the time being.
I very much sympathize with you. I will be on the roof of an 1898 home working on some chimneys this afternoon. I do think that they are important, but I had a question for Lindsay in regards to their point about doing the roof work that needed to be done and addressing chimneys later. When they receive a permit, how much time do they have to complete that work?
COAs are active for 3 years. And there's not a specific timeline on a permit, or is it 5 years?
Permits are good for 1 year.
1 year. Obviously, the project could be permitted separately. The scopes of work could be permitted separately on the masonry side and the roof side. I think the challenging aspect would be the enforcement. You know, we don't necessarily want to tie the applicant to doing something in, 90 days, a year, if you're not going to necessarily be ready to do it in a year. And then how would both city inspectors and the Historic Zoning Commission staff come back and make someone do that? That would be a little bit more challenging.
Lindsay, I have a question for you. If we were to pass a motion to deny demolishing the chimneys, could you still approve a level 1 for an asphalt shingle replacement?
Yes.
Okay, that wouldn't necessarily conflict.
Any other discussion?
I do have one question. So, if it is denied to demolish the chimneys, considering that they are still posing a hazard because there's active leaks in my crawl space and in my tenant's apartment, from the actual chimney itself, what is the guidelines for sort of covering it up for potentially a year or two while I see about trying to get additional financing for loans to replace that? Like, can I tarp it over, or I'm sort of in a...
I think from the staff perspective, I think that would be something that I would be comfortable working with you and your contractor on the back end of this, because I don't know how to necessarily make that recommendation right now without any input from the contractor, and I would want them to weigh in on the best way to enclose that. Because I also don't think it would be particularly realistic to ask the applicant to tarp over 2 chimneys for an indeterminate amount of time.
One thing you could do would be to cap the uncapped chimney with a metal chimney cap. I think that would be the best long-term solution, even if you rebuild the chimney. If you were to tear it down and rebuild it, you could reuse the same cap. It wouldn't be necessarily a temporary fix, but it would alleviate a lot of the leaking. But a lot of it would need to be repointed to stop moisture intrusion.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation, including repair or reconstruction of the original chimneys with design and size to match original.
Do you have a second?
Can you repeat it again?
I did stutter. I'd like to make a motion to approve per staff recommendation to repair or reconstruct the original chimneys with design and size to match original.
Seconded.
All right. Any further discussion from the board? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just say that we'll follow up with each other, and I'll talk to you guys and your contractor on the back end about how to address this in a way that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next case is in Sequoia Hills on Scenic Drive, 523 Scenic Drive. It is file number 4F23-HZ.
Okay, so this project involves exterior rehabilitation a new secondary structure, and a new in-ground pool. So in terms of the exterior or the exterior rehab, this non-historic rear screened-in porch is proposed to be enclosed within that existing foundation and roof line, featuring 6-inch fiber cement lap siding, double-hung windows to match the windows on the existing house, and then new full-light sliding glass doors on the rear elevation. You can see photographs of the existing house, and then that's the screened-in porch to be enclosed, and then the elevation drawings in your packet. This is the section that we are speaking of. The stone steps will be removed and replaced with a wood landing and steps with Trex decking. The application also includes a new in-ground pool, which you can see in the site plan. It'll be installed to the rear of the building. The application also involves a new secondary structure, so you can see that where my cursor is here. And just to clarify, the scope of work with the enclosure of the porch is here, that's hatched. This is an existing 2-car garage that projects outward towards the rear. The new secondary structure is a pool pavilion. It has a cross-gable roof clad in asphalt shingles, gables with timber details that reflect that decorative half timbering on the house, and then 8x8 square wood posts and an exterior chimney clad in stone veneer. And then finally in the exterior rehab, an existing projecting bay window is proposed to be removed, so you can see the window here. And then the side windows that will be installed in its place. The openings will be infilled with new framing and brick cladding to match the existing. Some of the findings, this screened-in porch that's proposed to be enclosed, it's located on the northwest corner of the property, so it's obscured from view on both Scenic and Towanda Trail by that existing garage. The scope of work isn't visible from any right-of-way. It will be, the footprint will not be expanded, and that porch is a non-historic addition. The materials to enclose the porch will be compatible with the house. This projecting bay window will also be minimally visible. It's an interior side elevation that's obscured from view from large trees. The windows that will be installed, you can see here, contribute additional transparency to the elevation, and they're compatible with the existing windows. The new pool pavilion is proportionate in scale to the primary structure, so you can see the footprints here, and then the footprint of the house. Placement at the rear corner of the lot meets the design guidelines, and it is transparent in nature as a pavilion, so it will reduce the visual impact. It has a steeply pitched roof and timber detailing that reflects the design of the house. The main aspect here, the pool will be minimally visible from the street. There'll be a new fence obscuring it to meet code. There are minor site plan revisions that are necessary to bring the pool in accordance with the city zoning code. Basically, no part of a swimming pool can be in the corner side yard. So the pool's going to need to be shifted to the side or reduced in size so that the south side of the pool is flush with the principal building line. And minor site plans could be approved by staff. So staff's recommending approval of 4F23HC subject to the condition that the swimming pool meet the relevant aspects of the city zoning code with minor modifications to be approved by staff.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Ned Vickers. I'm the owner of the house at 523 Scenic, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Anything to add to what Lindsay's told us?
No, the pavilion may have to go away because of the pool shifting, but that's really the only thing, the only change there.
Who is the neighborhood rep?
Nancy Bills typically represents Scenic Drive. I did not receive a comment on this one.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. What's the fence material going to be made of?
Mr. Chair, can I just, sorry, we do have Ms. Kroll online via Zoom.
Oh, yes.
Also,
That's the architect.
architect.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, Daria. Would you like to add anything to this?
No, I think the description that Lindsay had, I think explains everything. I'll be more than happy to answer any additional questions, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vickers, what's the fence material?
would be black aluminum. The section, there's existing fence along the side yard that's wood fence, and it turns on the rear yard, I don't know, 15 feet maybe, and then from there it'll be aluminum.
Okay. You're going to have to bring that Towanda side up a lot, aren't you, to get the pool in there? Because if I remember correctly, that lot slopes back down towards Towanda.
It slopes towards Towanda, but it's only a few feet.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it really is not, the reason we bought this house originally was because of the flat backyard
Okay,
relative to everything else in Sequoia.
okay.
Actually, if you reference the second picture, Towanda Trail elevation, you can see kind of location of the garage and where Lindsay is pointing is, that's kind of where the pool is going to happen. So it's actually fairly flat. It drops a little bit to the street, but not in the area where the pool will be located.
Yeah, you can actually see topo lines on the survey.
Okay, all right. I might have it confused with the house on the corner of Alta Vista. Any discussion, comments? If not, I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendations.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
you.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else to add? All right, have a nice day. Thank you.